Have you ever walked past a stranger on the street and wondered what their story is? What hidden talents, what secret passions do they hold? Today, I want to share a story that will make you look at everyone around you with a newfound sense of wonder. It's a story about a waitress, a grand piano, and a moment that left an entire restaurant absolutely speechless. Our story takes place in a beautifully lit upscale restaurant. You know, the type white tablecloths, sparkling glasses, and the gentle clinking of cutlery. In the corner, a magnificent grand piano sits, usually played by a professional musician to create a sophisticated ambiance. But on this particular night, the piano stool was empty. Among the busy staff was a waitress named Sarah. To the diners, she was just another person taking orders, refilling water glasses, and making sure their evening went smoothly. She was polite, efficient, and had a warm smile. But she was largely invisible, just part of the background hum of the restaurant. No one could have guessed what she was capable of. As the evening wore on, a group of diners at a large table, perhaps celebrating something special, started getting a bit boisterous. They noticed the empty piano and began to joke around. One of them, feeling bold, called out to Sarah as she passed their table. He said something like, "Hey, since there's no piano player tonight, maybe you could play us a song?" The whole table erupted in laughter. You can imagine the scene. The comment was meant as a joke, a little condescending, even. They saw a waitress and their expectations were set accordingly. Sarah stopped, a tray balanced perfectly in her hand. A blush crept up her neck. For a moment she looked flustered, unsure how to respond to the challenge. Her colleagues shot her sympathetic glances. The restaurant manager started walking over, ready to intervene and smooth things over. But then, something shifted in Sarah's expression. The initial embarrassment faded, replaced by a quiet flicker of determination. She put her tray down on a nearby stand, looked directly at the man who had challenged her, and with a small, almost shy smile, she said, "All right, what would you like to hear?" A hush fell over the table. They were stunned. This was not the reaction they expected. One of them, still thinking it was a joke, blurted out, "How about something difficult? Like a really complex classical piece?" They named a notoriously challenging composition by Chopin. The challenge was now set in stone, a public dare. The entire restaurant was watching now, conversations fading away as all eyes turned to the waitress walking towards the grand piano. The air was thick with anticipation and a little bit of awkwardness. You could almost hear people thinking, "Is she really going to do this? This is going to be so embarrassing." She reached the piano and gently ran her fingers over the keys, as if greeting an old friend. She sat down, adjusted the stool, and took a deep, calming breath. The silence in the room was now absolute. You could have heard a pin drop. And then she began to play. The first few notes were soft, delicate, and absolutely perfect. They hung in the air, instantly silencing any remaining whispers of doubt. And then, her fingers started to dance across the keys. It wasn't just technically proficient. It was breathtaking. The complex, cascading notes of Chopin's piece filled the entire space. A torrent of passion, emotion, and pure, raw talent. Her posture changed. She was no longer just a waitress. She was a concert pianist, completely lost in the world of the music. Her body swayed with the rhythm, her eyes closed in concentration. The music flowed from her, not just from her fingers, but from her very soul. It was a performance you would expect to see in a grand concert hall, not in the middle of a dinner service. The jaws of the diners who had challenged her were on the floor. Their smirks were gone, replaced by expressions of utter shock and awe. People throughout the restaurant put down their forks. Waitstaff froze in place, trays in hand, mesmerized. The manager, who had been on his way to scold the table, simply stood there, completely captivated. She played with a power and grace that was simply astonishing. The piece rose and fell, a story told without words, a storm of emotion that swept through the room and held everyone captive. It was a moment of pure magic, a complete suspension of reality. In that moment, the restaurant, the diners, her job had all melted away. There was only Sarah and the music. When the final note resonated and faded into silence, the room remained quiet for a beat, as if no one dared to breathe. And then the entire restaurant erupted. It wasn't just polite applause, it was a standing ovation. People were cheering, whistling, some even had tears in their eyes. It was a spontaneous, overwhelming outpouring of admiration. The group that had challenged her were the loudest of all, their faces a mixture of disbelief and genuine respect. As Sarah stood up from the piano, A shy smile returning to her face, they rushed over, apologizing profusely and showering her with praise. The man who made the initial comment just kept saying, "I can't believe it. I've never heard anything like it, so what's the story behind the story?" It turns out Sarah had trained at a prestigious music conservatory from a young age. She was a prodigy, destined for a career on the world's biggest stages. But life, as it often does, threw her a curveball. Family circumstances forced her to drop out and take on jobs to support her loved ones. The grand piano became a distant dream, replaced by balancing plates and taking orders. She never told anyone at work about her past. Not because she was ashamed, but because it was a painful reminder of a life she had to leave behind. She hadn't played in years, thinking that part of her life was over. But that night, that silly, condescending challenge reignited a fire she thought had long gone out. The restaurant manager, who was just as stunned as everyone else, immediately offered her the permanent position of resident pianist. The diners who witnessed the performance that night shared the story with everyone they knew. Videos taken on phones went viral. Soon, Sarah wasn't just a local legend. She was an internet sensation. Her story reminds us of something so important. You should never, ever judge a book by its cover. The person serving you coffee, driving your bus, or stocking shelves at the grocery store might have a story you could never imagine. They might be a poet, a brilliant scientist, a retired athlete, or a world-class pianist waiting for a moment to play again. This story isn't just about music. It's about the hidden potential that lies within all of us. It's a testament to the fact that it's never too late to reconnect with your passion. Sometimes all it takes is a little push, even if it comes in the form of a misguided challenge. Sarah's story is a beautiful reminder that talent and dreams don't just disappear. They might go dormant, waiting for the right moment, the right opportunity to burst forth and change everything. So the next time you're out in the world, look around, be curious, be kind. You never know when you might be in the presence of greatness in disguise. Thank you so much for watching and sharing this incredible story with me. If it moved you as much as it moved me, please hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing true stories. Until next time, keep looking for the magic in the everyday.